Mr. David Coverdale at this time in the morning that we are recording this interview. I must admit that I feel a little bit bleary-eyed after last night's rock show. How about you?
Bleary. Bleary is polite. Obscene is more of a good adjective, I think. I've just woken up.
Is tiredness one of these things that really hits people in the rock world?
Well, rock and roll hours are grows without flowers, you know, as Little Feat said so aptly.
Yeah.
Because, like, you travel, you spend so many hours actually travelling for 1 hour performance, and then celebrating the performance or drinking away your misery afterwards. Consequently, so for 1 hour a day, you're enjoying yourself. For 23, you know, you're drinking.
But is it worth it all in the end?
For that moment you're on stage, yeah, believe it.
And what would you been doing now, say, if you didn't have your break with the Purple?
I would have been sleeping.
You would have been sleeping and enjoying...
Oh, what if I hadn't brought...
No, not now.
Yeah.
Would you have been in a 9-to-5 boring job at the bank or something?
No, not at all.
What were you training to do, actually, before you got into music?
I was, well, I've always been into music. Apparently I used to do Tommy Steele impressions when I was 4.
Yeah?
Now, I used to, I was training to be an art teacher and a graphic design artist.
Ah.
Which is quite true.
Do you have your own hand in your album sleeves now?
I do most of the basic ideas for them, but they never come out. I designed Whitesnake.
Yeah,
the logo for that. And the idea that we had for Northwinds was, at the 11th hour, was scrapped. And the EMI people suggested doing another one, which is, although the print hasn't come out so well, the idea is lovely.
Yes, there's a very bleak landscape on the front cover of your Northwinds album, isn't
a lot of my songs are bleak, you know, since being off the road for 2 years. You know, nothing really to write about, you know, apart from emotional experiences. Consequently, you get a lot of love songs in there.
Yeah, sure. Is that where you feel your direction's going now? Do you think you'll get back to the hard rock and roll?
Oh, there's no question about it. You see, I haven't had a groove for 2 years. So basically, I've been writing the odd rock song, you know, after going to a good gig or having a jam session with friends. And other than that, I've been sitting at home with the piano or playing guitar, and you can't rock on your own, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can keep your Richie Havens and all that. Like, I want hard rock if I do it at all. Complete physical, you know, onslaught. And now, I'd like people, if they listen to Whitesnake or to Northwinds, to just listen to it as a collection of songs and not particularly in terms of direction. Because on the road, particularly now with the musicians I have, it's hard rock. It's rock soul, you know, blues and stuff. And that's very much more my direction.
I must admit, I do enjoy this album, The Northwinds and the Whitesnake, more than the kind of stuff you were doing with Purple. I always thought Purple was, I don't know, rather plastic, rather commercial, you know.
Well, there was never any intentions of being commercial. We just sold a phenomenal amount of records.
Yes.
There was no, like, let's sit down and, you know, write a recipe for hard. I'll tell you what I really do hate, this heavy metal expression. Because there's no humanity or flesh in that at all, or soul in metal, you know. And that's really, when I was with Purple, that's one of the things that Glenn and I tried to change a little bit, whereas Glenn and I got more separated because his black influences were so extreme and mine were minor or minimal, and consequently Blackmore and me were trying to get more of a blues thing with the ideas like Sail Away and Mistreated, Soldier of Fortune and Lady Double Dealer and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons Richie quit, because there was, like, everyone was trying to get classical bits in and stuff, and it stopped being a group.
Was this when you first got the warning signals that Purple were about to fold up?
Well, Glenn and I talked when, you know, like, when Richie said he was leaving, we were all despondent, obviously, because, you know, Blackmore was Blackmore, you know. But then we started getting a little more spine and saying, well, Jesus, we want to work with each other, let's get another guitarist and change the name of the band. So we all went away to separate hotel rooms and made up lists of guitarists, and Tommy Bolin's name came forward. We auditioned quite a few names before that.
Yeah.
But Tommy was the one who really cut it. But then with record company pressure and stuff, the name Purple, you know, stuck with it, you know, management pressure. But we really wanted to change the name. Although Can't Taste the Band was more Purple than Stormbringer.
Yeah, I can understand that, yes. Why do you think Purple enjoyed such an enormous amount of success in the first place?
Because we were good. You know, like, you can't, like, if you sit down and start to analyse it, it loses the spark of the fire.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be analysed at all. That's actually, I'm contradicting myself here, because the reason I'm doing these concerts now is I'm going back to the roots to find out where everyone's gone wrong. Because there's such a separation when you're at a success of, like, Purple or whatever, from the actual street, you know, from people. You don't know whether your songs are turning them on or not. you know, they may buy your records, but that could be just fan, you know, like collection or whatever.
Mania, yeah, sure.
And this, like, at the level of Purple or something, you've got so much security and photographers running about in front of you, you can't see whether you're actually communicating. And whereas I feel I am communicating now, and I think I know where I've been going wrong. You know, like with Purple, it was like Hollywood with long hair.
Yes, but
you know,
one day you could get to a state where you would be such a big band that you would get all that hype behind you and all that fan mania and all that junk again, and again you would be, you know, devoid from the audience.
I think I'd know a bit more now.
Yeah.
Certainly, like we've been,
Once bitten,
3 weeks,
twice shy.
I think we've been on the road for 3 weeks. And the feeling's been tremendous. There's been a lot of sadness that a lot of people couldn't get into certain places because they were small.
Yes, you've been doing very small places. That's rather unusual.
Well, yeah, and there's another problem that a lot of kids couldn't get in because a lot of the places are licensed and they were too young, which is, you see, you can't please everybody. You can't do everything. This is the only way I know how to find out where all the excitement from 10 years ago has gone. You know, when people used to go and see the Yardbirds or the Stones or something.
Yes, everybody seems to be on this thing now. Everyone's sort of saying, well, now this punk thing has died out. It didn't really do anything and it was all hype in the first place.
Well, the media exploded.
Yes, exactly. But that's what it was. But what is music these days? You know, where is it taking us? You know, everyone was enjoying themselves in the 67, 68 era, pirate radio, all the rest of it. But
it was fresh and stuff. Now it's like a bastard child.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, and I'm not being offensive there, radio director. No, really punk, I was living away from the country at the time, so I didn't really feel the onslaught of punk, but I think the media took it further, much further than, and unfortunately it vanished up its own orifice before it blossomed, if you know what I mean, because of the media. But the thing is, it brought more of an identity to an audience again than a Zeppelin show or a Purple show or anything, because kids could see that they could afford the kind of guitars and the kind of equipment that punks were using and the kind of musical ability, or the lack of musical ability or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, identity. You know, like even I can't identify with Rod Stewart in a gold-plated limousine and stuff, you know what I mean? That's separation, it's promoting separation rather than communication.
David Coverdale, another track from his latest solo album called North Winds. This is called Only My Soul.
Only my soul stops me crying.
Only My Soul, another track from the new David Coverdale album called North Winds. 10 minutes away from 9 o'clock, I chat with David Coverdale, and I said to him, it must have been really a shock to be, fairly unknown in the music world, to be shot up into superstardom, being the lead singer with, Deep Purple.
Well, you were being polite.
No, well...
No one had heard of me.
No one had heard of you, that's right. And suddenly you were accepted. You must have been very lucky, well, not lucky, but, very glad to be accepted as Deep Purple's vocalist like that. There must have been other people, bigger names, you would say, before you, who might have been chosen.
Pete, you're coming out with some lovely understatements. You must have felt good.
Why
I went bananas. I went ape. I can believe it. I blew all my savings in the Top Deck Club in Redcar.
Really?
15 quid.
All 15 quid of it?
You believe it. I went well over the top.
Why do you think you were chosen then? Because you were cheap.
No, because I was cheap. I brought the scotch. Well,
Who else was
what can I say without flattering myself? No, really, why do you think they picked me? Because they enjoyed me.
Yes.
And I think it was a terrific thing on their part, rather than picking a name or a security.
Yeah.
They wanted to.
Did they ask you to audition with old Purple numbers?
No, it's funny because, I hadn't heard Purple since in rock, which I loved. And I was working in a boutique, and this chick was a Purple freak, and she let me Made in Japan and Machine Head, which I enjoyed the musical ability, but I didn't associate with the songs very much. But you couldn't deny the talent of the musicians. So I learned to smoke on the water, I think, and Strange Kind of Woman. Then I ended up doing Little Richard songs and Beatles songs and all sorts of things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When just jamming, really, as Bob Marley would have it. And I took the scotch. That was probably a...
And suddenly you were one of the elite. Looking back, did you really enjoy your time with Purple? It was an experience you wouldn't,
Oh, yeah, I've got enough. Like, my exposé comes out in 79, the News of the World.
Exposé on Deep Purple. But sure, you were frustrated. You were an excellent songwriter, as we see on North Winds and on Whitesnake. Were you a bit frustrated that maybe you couldn't put as much of your talent into the Purple songs, the albums you were on, that you could have done?
Well, to be quite honest, Blackmore, when Richie was with Purple, he and I did the majority of the writing for Purple.
Yeah.
And then Tommy and I did the kind, when, I write better with guitarists, funnily enough. But even, I was getting my rocks off. But by the time of Come Taste the Band, I felt as if my writing was repeating itself. Although I'm still very happy with my progression as a musician.
Yes.
I'm looking forward now to having a rock and roll band, because I'm a group singer and not, James Taylor and Studio 54 or whatever.
The first album was very much with session musicians, wasn't it?
Well, both.
Yes.
The only guy who's with me is Mickey Moody. I couldn't really afford a band through political and managerial castration.
Well, could you now?
Well, things are being sorted out, and it's 2 years to this month, actually. It's 2 years to this month that I left Purple, and a year from when I made North Winds. Like, this month is a big anniversary time. In fact, let's have a drink.
Let's have a drink.
Yeah, right.
I was dreaming of the
Blind Man from the Whitesnake album. David Coverdale wrote a song about the split up of Deep Purple called Breakdown. We'll hear that in its entirety after the news at 9 o'clock.
With Pete Baker.
The single version of that, well, there's the full version available on David Coverdale's North Winds album. Breakdown, of course, the story about Deep Purple breaking up. Later score, we have a Division 2 match, Spurs 1, Stoke 1. Important, of course, for Bolton. Spurs 1, Stoke 1. Keep you up to date on that one. 8 after 9 on Piccadilly. Back with the final section with David Coverdale, who came in this morning to Piccadilly. Asked him about the album, since why is it that the North Winds album and the previous Whitesnake one both came out on the Purple label? I would have thought that since Deep Purple have disbanded, so the record company would as well. Why did it come out on Purple?
No idea. We all agreed to keep Purple Records for like collections of Deep Purple or the best of or whatever. And I can't understand why I'm on Purple Records. I'm not complaining because I like the logo.
Yes, it's very smart.
I really don't know.
Okay, well,
sorry about that. Doctor's surgery there.
Balls, yes. Okay, let's hear another track now from your North Winds album. What's your favourite track off it?
It's not a point of favourites. I enjoy all of them. There's one song I'm very proud of on there. It's a song from my missus called Time and Again. Although if this is a rock show, it's not the track to play. But it's probably one of the most sincere and honest songs I've ever performed.
You feel quite often rock songs aren't sincere?
Oh, most of them, yeah. There's a lot of garbage going around. I try to make it like so you could identify with the physical experience of a gypsy woman you meet or something, or in love. I want just Pete to communicate with people, to say that, we all have our problems, we all get lonely, or we all get high. Like, I'm extreme, I'm either a peacock or a little boy lost, and that comes out in my writing. And emotionally, I'm certainly not unique. So I just hope people can share in those feelings.
Fine, we're sharing it now as we hear that track. David Coverdale, thanks for coming into Piccadilly.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
Dedicated to Dave Coverdale's wife. That's Time and Again. Beautiful track there from his North Winds album. And thanks to Dave for coming. I hope you enjoyed him when you saw him last night in Manchester. It's 14 after 9 o'clock on Picadilly Radio.